Just Baseball Show, as always, is presented by BetMGM. Today on the program, we had weird news come out about the San Diego Padres. We got to talk about the ownership gripe there and who wants to be the controlling party of the San Diego Padres. Brent Rooker got paid. Pete Alonso wants to get paid. Is he going to get paid like he wants to get paid? I don't know. Gavin Lux got traded. Let's talk about his fit in Cincinnati. And then we play GM for the Rays and the Rangers. Jack, Peter, and we've got new merch, man, and it's sick. I need a hoodie now.
Shout out Brandon Anderson, phenomenal graphic designer for us, and cooked up the best merch that we have ever produced. Now, we've been producing some good merch. You see the rope hat, you see the sweatshirts, they're fire. But what I'd highly recommend, if you have never checked out our merch shop, go check out this new edition. World Series logos adapted with just baseball logos. So right now we have the 2001 World Series logo. I'm sure our guy Peyton, who edits these YouTube videos, he's got it up on the screen for all those on YouTube. Before you get any merch, subscribe, hit the like button, do all the things. But let us know in the comment section below, what do you think about these designs? I already ordered myself a sweatshirt. Have to. We got navy, gray, black, the insignia on the front, World Series logo on the back. No brainer. Go get it in the description of this video. You can find the link there. Just go check it out. They're fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull this up here. I've got the image here that I can show you if Peyton didn't flash it already. But on the iPad, this is the look at our new hoodies that we have coming. And I mean, dude,
You can't tell me
those
that you don't want one of those sweatshirts,
I
people
want
listening.
that.
You can't
I
tell
want
me
that
that.
so bad.
Yeah, it's sick.
So badly. So I'm going to purchase, and I hope you guys do too. By the way, be sure to like, subscribe wherever you listen to this. And let's get into it, man. I want to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to the Padres off the top, if that's fair,
Let's do it.
because that was a story that I think a lot of, A, caught a lot of people off guard, and B, not a lot of people can really wrap their head around. And I'm struggling to wrap my head around it. So I tried
Yeah.
my hardest to wrap my head around it so you didn't have to. Seidler is the widow of Peter Seidler, former
Mhm.
wife of Peter Seidler, who unfortunately passed, the previous owner of the San Diego Padres. The Seidler family is the majority owner of the San Diego Padres. They own, it sounds like 40 to 50%, the Seidler Trust does, of the San Diego Padres. And the whole idea here is the controlling party of the San Diego Padres now is a couple of Peter's siblings, Matthew Seidler, Robert Seidler. Shields Seidler wants to take over as the control person, the control owner of the San Diego Padres. And she accuses Matt and Bob Seidler, two of Peter's siblings, breaches of fiduciary duty and fraud as executors of Peter's estate and trustees of the trust that controls the San Diego Padres. So I think the terminology here was uh, irreconcilable conflicts of interest. Yeah. And they tried to sell trust assets to themselves at far below market prices. There's a whole write up at a bunch of different avenues. I trusted Dennis Lin and Evan Drellich of The Athletic. I also looked at CBS Sports as their write up. In essence, Sheil is not the controlling party of the San Diego Padres right now. She believes that Peter wanted her to be, but in written documentation, it has transferred over to his brothers, and they are not managing the San Diego Padres in the way that Peter intended them to be run. And that is where Sheil comes in. She did not want it to get to the litigation phase, but it got to the litigation phase. It's really confusing, but the 411 is she believes that the Padres are not being run in the best interest of Peter when he handed control of the team over.
And it's tough because it's a lot of hearsay, right? I mean, what is her evidence that they're not running the Padres like Peter Seidler, her late husband, would have, right? So that's why it's a really confusing, and I just hope it doesn't affect anything on the field, right? If they, they're one of the clear teams that has not spent any money this offseason, whether that be through free agency, whether that be through trades. We've heard Luis Arias's name floated a bunch of times. We've heard Dylan Cease's name floated a bunch of times, and just nothing has happened. We've come to a straight, just a wall. Like they're stalling. So what I hope is that this litigation doesn't continue on for so long and that the Padres and mostly Padres fans are left with a not a skeleton of their former team, but it doesn't look to be the same level of talent where they're sitting here saying, "Can someone just take control of this team and can we go win some games again?" And that's why I think it's a really tough story right now.
Yeah, it's weird. So she officially filed a lawsuit against his brothers for control of the San Diego Padres, and like Twitter was a weird place when it came to the whole Padre thing yesterday or on Monday evening because I know there were some people that I saw relocation terminology somewhere. I didn't read that anywhere. But we know the Padres are looking to cut some funds right now. They're looking to trim payroll and um, Peter, his last year is, the operating owner of the San Diego Padres. He spent a lot of money um, to build this team into a contender. And I have no idea what the spending patterns would be if Sheila is the controlling owner and all of that, but we'll see. And this could be a very messy situation that is far beyond my brain power. I'll be totally honest with that. And I hope gets resolved in a civil way and what's best for the San Diego Padres and their fan base and what happens on field.
We just had to start off on a sour note for a banger of an episode.
I guess, but it's just confusing. I do have
Yeah.
one more thing to add, by the way. Another contract just came through. Did you see the Rays just agreed to an extension with Drew Rasmussen?
Yes, they did. 2 years, 8.5 million, with a third-year option that can get him up to 28 million for the Tampa Bay Rays righty, who came over in the Willie Adames trade and has been good when healthy. That's why we're not seeing Drew Rasmussen get up into the easy $30 million mark, maybe even higher, because he has struggled to stay on the field with multiple arm surgeries, which doesn't have a great track record, but the track record on the field is excellent. And I think the Rays are banking on that by signing him to a low AAV type extension like this, but wanting to make sure he stays in house in case he does continue to show what he has on the field.
Yep.
And I like all the escalations up to 30 because if he does play, he will earn that deal.
Yeah. Rasmussen has been a very exciting piece that you mentioned has been hurt often. And I think he was a double Tommy John guy when he was in college at Oregon State before the Brewers took him. And he is recovering from the internal brace. He did make his return at the end of last year. And dude, like it was 28 and two thirds at a 2.83 ERA. Before that, he looked disgusting in
Yeah.
22 and 23. 146 innings at a 2.84 in 2022, and then 44 and two thirds innings in 2023 at a 2.6 before going down with the brace. And in 44 and two thirds, he walked 11. This is a
Yeah.
guy that is always around the strike zone, it seems, with pretty loud stuff. And I wasn't actually thinking about Rasmussen as part of the Rays rotation coming into this season when Springs was in the fold. But Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times mentioned that the plan is to reintroduce Rasmussen to the rotation. So now you're looking at six of McClanahan off Tommy John, Taj Bradley, Ryan Pepio, who I'm super high on for 2025.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got Littell, Boz, and Rasmussen. This team's gross again, man.
Of course they are. Rasmussen, but again, what did we say when we did our New Year's resolutions?
Yeah.
Overhaul the strength and conditioning department.
Yeah.
Rasmussen is a perfect symbol for the Rays over the past couple of seasons,
Yeah.
right? With the Rays, in his first season, he comes over in 2021, 284. 2022, 284. 2023, 262. 2024, 283. Those are all of his ERAs. He's thrown 310 innings in his career to a 295 ERA.
Yeah.
We just need more innings,
Right.
right? We're all looking at the same names with the Rays every single year. Please stay healthy. Please, for the love of God, stay healthy.
Yep. And we shall see a guy that has had no issue staying on the field, in large part because he is a designated hitter, just agreed to a contract extension with the A's. This is one way to escalate the payroll by doing it for guys that are already on your team. Oakland, or the A's, and Brent Rooker agree to a 5-year, $60 million deal that can push to six for $90 million. Brent Rooker was on 300 with 40 homer watch last year. Rooker is one of the better DHs at a position in DH that is as deep as I think it's ever been in my time watching baseball. I was going through, we're getting ready for our positional top 10s and top fives. I was going through my top 10 DHs. Dude, like off the top, Ohtani, Jordan, Ozuna, Rooker, Schwarber, Yelich is going to be a DH this year. Stanton, obviously. Like, Seiya Suzuki is going to be a DH this year. It's loaded right now, and he's one of the best. They paid a bat, and he's going to be there on a move to Vegas, which is really, I think it should be exciting for A's fans that are still around, that are looking forward to the future of A's baseball, because the future is looking up with all the young bats that we talk about consistently.
So for those who aren't chronically online, they might not understand this analogy. When I saw this contract come across the ticker, I had, and what I hope to be, the same reaction of all baseball fans. Hell yeah. And the analogy is this contract reminded me of when you're, scrolling Instagram, scrolling TikTok, Twitter, wherever you're getting your video, your short reels,
Yeah.
and you see somewhere where a guy is on a bridge and he drops like a big piece of ice,
Oh yeah.
or any of those like dude shit things
Yeah.
where all the comments are just saying, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like this was where all baseball fans can come together and just be like, hell yeah, Brent Rooker. Because we see how great he is on social media. We see how awesome he is on the field. He's a guy who, struggled to be a big leaguer, not a
Yeah.
productive big leaguer, a
No.
big leaguer for most of his career. Then in 2023, puts up a 2.5 win season with 30 home runs. And we think to ourselves, is this a real player? None of us have really any idea. He's a 28, 29-year-old who showed up with some power. We say, all right, let's see what you can do next season. Next season, dude puts up a 5-win season as a DH while hitting 39 home runs. So I can understand people online. Did Brent Rooker not get enough money? No, 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 no. We should all be happy as baseball fans that a guy at his age 30 season has a true breakout year and then gets 60 million United States dollars with an escalation up to 90 million. Like, take yourself out of all the other contracts in Major League Baseball, and we should all just be like, hell yeah, a good dude who had really 1.5 great seasons can make up to $90 million over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I like that. And it is, I was thinking about other examples of just, big chunk of ice being dropped into a pond and you see all of that happening. I follow a guy on Instagram, Rock Skipping Pro, and it's just a bunch of
Perfect.
videos of him like skipping rocks. And it's like, wow, you got 15 skips on that one.
And nobody in the comments section is hating.
And
It's all
nobody.
like, oh, get the next one.
Yeah.
It's all just dudes. And I don't mean to say this is for dudes. This is just for all baseball fans, women included, everybody included, to just all come together and it be like a rock skipping video. There's no
Brent,
hate.
yeah.
It's just beautiful people talking to each other and enjoying the same thing. That's Brent Rooker's deal.
Brent Rooker getting paid and George Kirby throwing a sporadic knuckleball
Hell
are
yeah.
the two rock skipping things in Major League Baseball.
I like that. I like that.
I like it. A guy that is trying to get paid. It's Pete Alonso. Was it Scott Boras that said he wants Prince Fielder money? They're using Fielder's mega deal as a template for Alonso's potential payday.
Yes. So when that came across, that Scott Boras wants Prince Fielder money for Pete Alonso. And what that means is 9 years, $214 million that Prince Fielder signed with the Detroit Tigers. Now, my first reaction, and I believe that to be shared by most baseball fans, was emotional. You don't bring Prince Fielder's name up like that, oh, willy nilly. This is our legend. This is our guy. This is the guy who, the son of Cecil Fielder, that we all know that both of them ended their careers with 319 home runs, that unfortunately ended Prince Fielder's career early with neck issues.
Yeah.
But what he was a perpetual 900 OPS guy, 35 with a high of 50 home runs. But Prince Fielder wasn't Prince Fielder because he just had power. Prince Fielder was one of the best hitters of the mid to early 2000s. Not just power, an all around bat. So at first, I'm thinking, Scott Boras, you are such a piece of shit. I mean, not only just drag Prince Fielder's name in, but why are you doing this to Pete Alonso? Why are you making him such a big market? How is that going to help him? Teams are just going to hear that and immediately go, all right, we're out of the Pete Alonso sweepstakes. You're
Yeah.
going to ruin his market like you have on other players. Some players you've helped. I think overall to his players, a lot of people would say he's been a net positive, and it's hard not to agree with that. But in this deal and in some other deals in the past, he comes in with such outlandish numbers. So you know me, I had to get into baseball reference, and I had to cue both of them up. How
Yeah.
have both Prince Fielder and Pete Alonso done going up to their free agency decision? Well, Prince Fielder from 2006 to 2011 played almost 1,000 games, 959, 228 home runs, slash 282, 391, 541, right? Not 230, 320, 550, 282, 390 for a 932 OPS and a 144 OPS plus.
Yeah.
Per season, 38 jacks, 38 doubles, 108 RBIs, and he was a free agent going into his age 28 season. Prince Fielder, beast.
Yeah.
But here's why I kind of get where Boris is coming from. I actually came around to it a little bit because I think we, as a baseball community, should put a little bit more respect on Pete Alonso's name.
Sure.
2019 to 2024, 846 games. He's got two less home runs than Prince Fielder in 100 less games. 226. The difference is 249, 339, 514 slash line for an 854 OPS, but a 134 OPS plus. Per season, averages more WAR than Prince Fielder did, the same amount of home runs, less doubles, and a little bit less RBIs. But Pete Alonso was, of course, going into his age 30 season, while Prince Fielder was going into his age 28 season. And you can also understand why Prince Fielder got 9 years for 214. The year that he had going into his free agency decision, slash 299, 415, 566, with an OPS near 1,000, with a 164 OPS plus, 38 jacks, 36 doubles, 4.5 win season, third in MVP. Pete Alonso going into his free agency decision, 240, 329, 459, 788 OPS, 123 OPS plus, 34 home runs, 2.6 WAR. So I brought all of that up to say, Scott Boras, you're a little crazy for coming to us with a Prince Fielder type deal.
Yeah.
But I can understand where he came from. And my initial response was, I have no idea where he's coming from with this.
Yeah, so we're 13 years removed, right? He signed it going into the 2012 season. It's 2025. So, you account for those 2 years of an age gap with the market getting better for players and the dollar meaning less than it did in 2012, although I don't
Absolutely.
know how crazy that is. But Prince Fielder, 2 years younger, when he signed this deal, he had accumulated 20.1 career F4. Okay. Alonso is at 17.3. Now, where is the bulk of that war coming from for Alonso? It's coming early. 2019, when he won Rookie of the Year, he was a 4.5 win player, 4.7 career war, a 144 WRC plus.
Best year?
He hasn't sniffed either of those numbers
Yes.
since. A 141 in 2022, he was a 3.8 win player. So his second best year was below a 4 win season and an entire win lower than his rookie year. So we're talking about a guy that is given us across 5 full seasons or 6 full seasons, 5 full seasons, pardon me, because one of those years was 2020. Across 5 full seasons, war totals of 4.7, 3.5, 3.8, 2.8, 2.1. So he hasn't gotten to 3 wins in each of the last 2 years, and he was just above a 2 win player last year. Prince Fielder going into this mega deal. His first full season, 0.7 war. And then 4.7, 1.3, 5.9, 2.7, 4.7. Prince Fielder has the three best years of those two before hitting their deals. And
And
Prince was coming off a 4.5 win season versus Alonso coming off of a 2 win season.
while being 2 years younger.
Yes.
So what Scott Boras is doing is saying, You loved Prince Fielder because of the power, right? Well, Pete Alonso has more power, or what he has shown up to making a contract decision. The reason you're about to interrupt me is that's all he's got.
Yeah. You loved Prince Fielder because he was power and so much else. And I
Yes.
don't love bringing up batting average, but Prince Fielder, you mentioned 299 in that contract year, career 283 hitter.
Bring up
Okay.
OBP, right? Pete
Let's do
Alonso in his
this.
walk year, 329. Prince Fielder, 415.
And 382 in his career. Fielder 283, 382, 506. Alonso at this point is 249, 339, 514. The only thing he clears him in is slug. And I understand that slug is the most important thing, but we haven't seen a well rounded Pete Alonso since 2022.
And another reason to bring up this contract that does a disservice to both players. The contract didn't work. In field
Yeah.
again, but that's how it'll sit with the minds of some.
Yeah.
Like whether that's fair or not, what do you remember of Prince Fielder's 9-year, $214 million deal? You
Yeah.
remember it being sad that
Injuries.
in his first 2 years with Detroit, he was 30 bombs. He was
Yep.
36 bombs, right? He was still Prince Fielder. And then neck issues. Then 3 years in Texas that didn't really produce anything. Then career over. So you're bringing up an unfair deal for Pete Alonso, and that unfair deal ended poorly. What a disservice to Pete Alonso for Scott Boras to do this
Yeah.
on so many levels. The only reason I wanted to bring up why it's not crazy is just to give credit to Pete Alonso, the player.
For sure.
Because to be fair to Pete Alonso, he is one of the best first basemen in Major League Baseball. And the position of first base is at its weakest in a very long time. Shouldn't that speak to Pete Alonso's importance in Major League Baseball? Do you know how many first basemen last year had a 130 WRC plus or higher? 130, that's 30% more than league average. A first baseman should be around that mark. Do you know how many, Jack, last year?
How many?
4, right? Not that many hit 30 home runs either. This is not a position that has a ton of stars in it. Now, we're expecting bounce backs from some, not all, though, right? When the Nationals acquired Nathaniel Lowe, they're actually getting one of the better first baseman offensive pieces over the last few years because the first base position is so weak.
Yeah.
And with Pete Alonso, while it is trending down, it's not trending down in such a stark direction where it's like, will Pete Alonso be a good hitter in 2025? Of course he's
Right.
going to be. Like Pete
Right.
Alonso, for the next 5 years, is going to hit 30 to 35 home runs.
Yeah.
He's going to hit 230, 240. He's going to get on base at a decent clip. He doesn't strike out that much. His defense is getting better. He's going to be an 800 OPS guy. And again, why did we love Prince Fielder? Played every day. Played every day.
Yep.
Pete Alonso plays every day. So, Scott Boras, why are you giving us Prince Fielder? But at the same time, it's not as crazy as everybody thinks. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I will say I think there are better recent examples, and I understand that Boris is positioning his client because of career production in a similar way to Prince Fielder. And you mentioned the home run totals. Like in terms of cumulative numbers, they are very close to Prince Fielder.
Oh,
But
no, they're
there's
better. He's been a more prolific power hitter.
There we go. Okay. By cumulative numbers over games played, yes, he has
Yeah,
been a more prolific power hitter than Prince Fielder was.
but
But
actually lower slug, just more home runs.
there you go. So I like it's n- I guess it is apples to apples, but the guy that I want to look at and I would be citing as my starting point is Matt Olson going into the 2022 season. Olson signed it going into his age 28 season. Alonso is signing it going into his age 30 season. Olson, like I think that that's a more similar conversation because when Prince Fielder signed that deal, he was the best or second best first baseman in Major League Baseball. And we talk often about the precedent that the best need to set contractually.
Yep.
They need to establish a new bar for a contract.
Finished third in MVP that year.
Yeah. He was the best first baseman in baseball when he signed that deal, probably. I don't have, 2012 in front of me, like, Maybe
Should I,
Miggy
should I
was.
get it in front
It
of
was
me
probably
just for
Miguel
fun?
Cabrera, right? Although Miggy was DHing at that point.
Let me see. I'm looking up 2012 awards.
Yeah, or like war leaders.
2012, the world could have ended then. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah, I do remember that. I watched the movie. I went on a middle school date to that movie. I wore
Miggy.
jeans. That was a big step for me.
Oh wait, we're so dumb. Miggy won the Triple Crown in 2012.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. Like second best. And Miggy, I think Miggy was DHing at points there. Like Prince signed in Detroit. So Miggy, like he was the best first baseman in baseball, if you want to call it that. And then Fielder was probably the second best, right? So Fielder was the one that hit the open market and he established that new landmark number to get to. Alonso hits the open market as like the fifth or sixth best first baseman in Major League Baseball as it stands right now. The first baseman that's going to establish a new number is Vlad Jr. next year.
Yeah.
It's not Alonso's job. 2 years ago, we thought it was going to be Alonso's job. Now it's not. It's like, okay, you're not the elite of the elite. You're second tier. You're a second tier first baseman because I think the first tier belongs to three or four guys, and he's out of that. Olson was the best of the second tier when he got 8 for 168 going into his age 28 season. Freddie got what, 6 for 166? I think that's a fine number to jump off as well. It's a higher AAV.
Yeah.
But like I think that's the number you should be looking at instead of 214 from Prince Fielder 13 years ago.
And realistically, you should be looking for lower than Freddie Freeman's deal. 6 for 156. Should probably be 6 for 150.
The last thing I want to talk about with Alonso, who is in his market? Like who is vying for the services of Pete Alonso?
The Mets.
I think it's just the Mets.
I've tried to find other places for him. Unless yeah, it unless the Blue Jays are so
Or
desperate.
the
And I know it's funny
Giants.
because they have Vladdy, but if they think they'll lose Vladdy, you DH Vladdy this year and you sign Pete Alonso to play
That
first
would be
base.
suicide. No,
I
they
agree.
can't do that to Vladdy. So, like,
But I'm trying here.
yeah. So San Francisco, I think, is the other team that can entertain that.
Yeah, but then I mean, you still have Lamont Wade playing first.
Yeah, but I am
You're
taking
out on
Lamont
it.
Wade's ABs away for Pete Alonso.
No, no, I'm not. Lamont. Well, okay. Who's
For
better,
Pete
Pete
Alonso,
Alonso?
man.
Who's better, Pete Alonso or Lamont Wade? Of course, I would take Pete Alonso, but I'm not taking Lamont Wade's ABs out of that Giants lineup. No shot.
No, I mean push him to DH. I'll take Wilmer Flores' ABs away.
That's more than fair.
Okay, yeah. So Lamont plays DH and Alonso plays first. So even if it is the Mets and the Giants, you're running up this bidding war that I feel like isn't happening.
No. And then to come out with that now, right? This isn't what we heard at the beginning of the season. This is Pete Alonso's market now.
Who's going to pay him? The entirety of the first base market has been solidified except for Pete Alonso and except for the New York Mets.
The only would the Tigers trade Torque and then sign him? No. Like
They're going to pay
um
somebody. They're paying Bregman.
yeah, I, it doesn't make for so many reasons the Prince Fielder comp makes no sense to me. I
Sure.
maybe he's working on a level of intelligence, and I mean Scott Boras that I'm just not at. But I I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Scott Boras's plan here does not work out, and he ends up settling with the Mets for some sort of high AAV short term deal with opt outs. And if Pete Alonso comes back next year and hits 45 jacks and hits 260 and is right back to rookie year Pete Alonso, or at least close to it, then he can re enter the market at 31 and be the player who teams get if they miss out on Vladdy. And then maybe he gets a artificial bidding war.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't that just be Freddie Freeman money, like 6 for 166?
Yeah, I think he's in a terrible spot.
I don't think 6 for 166 is a terrible spot. I
No,
just
but
think you
I'm
should.
saying I think that's you're
Yeah,
jumping for joy at 6 for 156
yeah.
in
I
this
think you should
market.
sign his 5 for 160 with the Mets and just be happy.
I think he should sign like a 3 for 90 deal with
That
opt outs.
that apparently was offered, and he said no.
I don't know what he's gonna do.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, we're going to get to Gavin Lux and then the playing GM in a moment. Before that, quick break. Gavin Lux is a Cincinnati Red. Lux was acquired by Cincinnati for a comp pick and Mike Sirota, who
Mm.
was an early round pick, not a first round pick, not a second round pick, by Cincinnati. So the comp pick does go to LA, and Cincinnati gets a guy with some defensive versatility. The fit for Lux in Cincinnati is an interesting one because Cincinnati last year experienced firsthand what it was like to lose the entirety of your depth. They had nobody. And
Hmm.
they needed to play Santiago Espinal way more than they wanted to. And they were without Noel V. Marte. And when he came back, he looked terrible. They were without Christian Encarnacion Strand. They were without Matt McLean. They were without everybody except Ellie. And in Lux, they get a guy that bounced back from an ACL surgery and was very good after the All Star break. And I know that you have the numbers post All Star break. He is a guy that seems defensively limited, but Nick Kroll, the lead decision maker, I'm sure his title is president of baseball operations or something that isn't general manager of the Cincinnati Reds, seems to view Lux as a defensively versatile option where he can play some corner outfield, he can play some second base. They could try him at third base in the spring. I don't know how it works at a bunch of places other than second, but I do know they add a bat that is a net positive for this lineup, and Lux was a sitting duck in LA after the Hai Sung Kim deal.
Yeah, I highly recommend going to check out Arm's article. He broke down the trade. You can find that in the episode description as well. Um, Strange move, right? Arm, and I quote Arm from the top of his article. Um, when the Dodgers signed KBO infielder Hai-Sung Kim, there was plenty of speculation that Gavin Lux would be shopped with the Mariners and Yankees appearing as the two most seamless trade partners. As far as suitors for Gavin Lux go, the Reds were probably towards the bottom of the list intuitively. I couldn't agree more. The Reds need an outfielder. The Reds had a surplus of infielders and then traded away Jonathan India and then still had a surplus of infielders. And then they add an infielder.
Yeah,
And they kind of needed a right-handed outfield bat and they had a left-handed infielder.
yeah,
Didn't make a lot of sense. And then you go and you say, well, Gavin Lux in the second half, 300, 380, 514, 152 WRC plus, former top prospect, 27 years old, 2 years of control. We got something here.
yeah.
But then there's the other school of thought. 27 years old, and this is the best spurt in his career. And he has a much longer track record of being nowhere near this. And then he had an opportunity to face some really good pitching in the playoffs and show that this second half is not a spurt, it's a continuation of what's to come. Do you know what his WRC plus was in the playoffs?
Not good. I know his last plate appearance resulted in a sacrifice fly, which was cool.
True. 68 WRC plus in the playoffs. He had 176. He had
Damn,
43 plate appearances.
damn.
Right? So it didn't continue there. And really, when you look at the second half, he had a good August and a good July. Like he was a 650 OPS guy in September. Or I'm not sure exactly how those months sort out. Maybe it was August, September, and then bad in October,
I'll check
whatever.
that.
It was really just two great months. Is that who we want to be bringing in for Mike Sirota? Clearly, the Dodgers value. They drafted Mike Sirota out of high school in the 16th round. And Aram, we were talking in the group chat that he was saying this, that the Dodgers do as good a job of sticking with their guys that they originally scouted as any other team. So I'm sure he goes in the third round to the Reds and they say, we want an opportunity to get him because we think we can unlock more because he went out of high school to Northwestern, destroyed
Northeastern.
baseballs,
Yeah,
Northeastern,
Boston.
excuse me, destroyed baseballs, OPS near 1200, expected to be a first rounder,
Yeah.
980 OPS, which is
Oh,
great, but
disappointing.
it's at Northeastern, so he slides to the third round. Dodgers thinking they can get more out of him, and they get a comp pick out of him.
Yeah.
So if you're the Reds, what you're buying is a former number one overall prospect who showed a lot in the second half, whose swing matches up really well with Great American Ballpark, and knowing you can probably move Matt McLean to center field. And now you have a 27-year-old second baseman who showed a lot with years of control. or he's a league average hitter in Great American Ballpark without great defense, and Mike Sirota turns into something really fun with the Dodgers. You can go either way here. Which way did you go? Which side are you buying?
I don't think the Reds are going to lose an ounce of sleep over letting Mike Sirota go. An interesting wrinkle that we talked about on the
I can't
call
wait for
up.
that to be a quote someday.
Yeah,
Hopefully
sure,
not. You
sure.
know what I'm saying?
Listen, like I'll get burned on that one. That's
No, no,
okay.
it's okay. Like, how am I supposed to know either? But
Yeah, no, I like
yeah,
it's a project, and the Reds are trying to win a division right now, like win
100%.
a wide open division, I think.
Which
And
I
the
love this, and like
yeah,
the message it sends is we are buying.
yeah, we're trying to go for it.
Yes.
And an interesting wrinkle that Arm and I talked about on the call up yesterday was Nick Kroll pretty much said that trading the comp pick allows some of that financial flexibility to be pushed towards the big league roster instead of the draft, where like that pick was going to cost him $2.5, $3 million. And it's funny because it doesn't necessarily jive with you that it's like, oh, that comes from the same pool of money. It all comes from the same pool of money.
Yeah.
But like Gavin Lux is going to make about $2.7 million this year. That's effectively what they would have paid that comp pick in this upcoming draft. So think about that. And like the only add on there was Sirota, who was a guy that was sliding for a reason. And it
Yeah.
wasn't just because he only had a 980 OPS. It was because of some data points that were not great. And it's because
Definitely.
like cold weather, it just didn't look right. So you take 2.7, you move it from the draft to Gavin Lux, and that's kind of nice for a small market team. Um, you mentioned the monthly splits. Lux in July and 937, Lux in August and 884, Lux in September is 659. So that was that taper off, but he had two hot months. I think what the Reds are banking on is that the 205 errorless innings that Lux played in left field in 2022 can come back in 2025. Yes, they have a second base option in Lux, but I would not be surprised to see him play a good bit of corner outfield because we talked about this as well. There's zero shot that Lux is worse in left than Spencer Steer is.
Spencer Steer's not a great left fielder. That's fine. You know.
He's not a good left fielder.
But
He's not an okay left
where
fielder.
does Steer play?
Steer could DH for you. Steer could play some first base. Like there are options here. CES doesn't look good. Like Steer can play first or DH. You know what I mean?
I got the same view as Aram did when he said effectively this is Noel V. Marte is not a part of the equation.
No, Noel V. Marte is one of the few guys, and I send a lot of positive texts when watching minor league baseball players. Like, hey, Tyler Black was really impressive for Nashville at the AAA level. I've sent texts about a lot of people. Mason Wynn, I sent positive texts about. Noel V. Marte was a guy that I was really excited to watch going into a week of him in Indianapolis. And I came away like, I'm a little nervous. Like he's
Mm.
trigger happy and it doesn't seem right at third base. And, he hit like the numbers are always good. Like that's what makes you a top 50 prospect or whatever he was. And then you get popped and then you come back and you look god awful. Like there has to be some merit to that. You can't just scrub it clean and say, okay, 2025, this guy's a top 40 prospect again. He looked so lost last year. You can't factor him in if you're trying to win a division.
And are
If
you
you're the White Sox, you could factor him in. You can't do that if you're the Reds.
couldn't agree with you more. Do you factor in CES into these plans now? Because you're moving if Lux is in left, well, first of all, that means McLean is at second, Ellie's at short, Heimer Candelario's at third.
Yeah, or
Well,
McLean plays
Steer,
third. I know Arm's idea is McLean plays third or McLean plays center, and that moves people around. Um, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I have no idea how it's all going to work out.
I think the way I have it kind of imagined in my head opening day is Steer in left, Friedel in center, Fraley in right. They have the same outfield.
Okay.
And you have McLean at third, Ellie at short, Lux at second, Candelario at first,
CES DH.
Stevenson at catcher, CES at DH,
Yeah, sure.
and then Jose Trevino play some days, put Tyler Stevenson in DH. and
Sure.
CES is then not playing. So CES is your DH. There's a lot of mixing and matching and platooning here too. Provides for some interesting decisions here. I
Don't forget, CES hit 13 bombs in 63 games in 2023 with an 805 OPS in the big leagues.
Yeah, but in 2024 he was
2024, he played 29 games. He was
yeah.
hurt for the
Yeah, it's just tough.
overwhelming majority of the year.
But yeah, he's definitely got pop. There's no doubt about it. My main takeaway here is who called who? Like
I bet the Reds called the Dodgers.
were the Reds after Gavin Lux? Did they see something or did the Dodgers call and be like, "How do we get Mike Sirota?"
No, I think the Reds called the Dodgers and said, "How do we get Lux? Because we feel like he can be infield depth and could also play some corner outfield."
Yeah, and then you're trading a prospect and a comp pick for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 years of control of a guy that has put together those 2 good months that we're talking about and has been above average at points in his major league career. Like these are the buys. These are what Cincinnati needs to do.
I just hope this isn't the answer to the outfield question. Like we needed a
No,
right-handed outfielder, and instead we got a lefty second baseman who are trying to move to the outfield.
no, I think the puzzle's incomplete, but the answer to a righty hitting outfielder could very well be McLean. You
Could
know what
be.
I mean?
Yeah, it could be.
So I have no idea, and they might not be done, but this was one that like initially I said, ew, why? But then
Yeah.
I started to understand how that can provide options for the Reds. And I think options are great, especially when you still have that sour taste of 2024 in your mouth when you had no options.
Yeah. And, a point that you made at the very beginning that I think is important is that, we're talking about this surplus of infielders. The Reds need a surplus because the Reds also, in their outfield with Friedel and Fraley and some other guys, they were
Guys get hurt
very
all the
injury
time, man.
prone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to have all of these options so you don't have, even though Nick Martini, that run for a week was awesome, but the
Yeah.
rest of Nick Martini wasn't. The Mike Ford days. I mean, in 2024, Edwin Rios was getting run.
Yeah.
Shout out Edwin Rios. But that probably shouldn't be happening to teams who are trying to compete.
Yeah.
So to continue to load up like this, I'm fine with it. I I was shocked to see Gavin Lux traded to the Reds.
Yeah. The cross sport comp I made was to basketball. What does every NBA GM want to surround a superstar?
Shooters.
Do the Reds have a superstar?
Yes.
Is Gavin Lux a shooter?
Gavin Lux is a corner three guy.
Gavin Lux is a corner three guy. So is Steer. So is McLean. So is Steve. Like all these guys are shooters. They
No, I
just
think
added another shooter.
McLean could be the Dame to Ellie's Giannis.
Okay. Yeah. But where's Chris Middleton? Is Lux Chris Middleton? Is Lux Pat Connaughton? I think so.
You got to pray Candelario is your Middleton. You got to
Okay.
pray
So,
for that.
yeah, you're paying Candy to be Chris Middleton. And
Yeah.
then, you've got like, you remember when DiVincenzo was a buck for a minute? It feels like Lux could be Dante DiVincenzo. You know what I mean? So it's like
This is fun.
it's just another 3-and-D guy to add next to a superstar.
Yeah. Do you like how I got your basketball reference early? Because I'm not
I
really a
love it.
basketball guy.
I love it. I mean, we were all over the Milwaukee Bucks just now. It was 15 seconds of audio magic.
I thought we did. It was a really good. We were doing the pick and roll there. Another
Yeah,
basketball
that
reference. You
was
like
that
that?
was that was a bad basketball reference. Good job.
It's one of those things where you do too many jokes, and it's like stop.
Yeah, it's like okay, you just took it 2 steps farther than it needed to go. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Transitioning to playing GM, I think the Rays are going to be a lot quicker than the Rangers. Although I think both of these teams are going to be pretty quick because it feels
Really
like both are
quick.
capped.
Yeah, that's the problem sometimes with doing these GM episodes in January. Kind of ran out of time a little bit. Something in the off season, maybe next time we could talk about, how to do these correctly. I mean, we've crushed all the other teams. We're down to the T's and the S's and all the
That's
remaining
fine.
teams, but like the Rangers did all the work for us.
I think we've got Toronto and Washington left, and
Yeah.
like that's about it.
Well, Toronto, thankfully we did them last because they're still open for business. We can still
Yeah,
change this team.
craziness. But let's talk about Tampa. Tampa was the second worst offense in baseball by most metrics. The White Sox were worst. Tampa was second. They were 29th in team OPS. They were 29th in runs scored, but they were a top 10 pitching staff in baseball. They were 10th in starter ERA despite all the injuries, and they were 10th in bullpen ERA. They were also fourth in stolen bases as a team, so they ran a lot. Problem is, they had zero juice, and they couldn't hit for average, and they struck out a lot. Their final payroll number in 2024 was $89 million. Their estimated payroll number going into the 2025 season is $74.3 million. Transactions to this point. They DFA'd Richard Lovelady, best last name in baseball, and Austin Shenton. Shenton was picked up by Seattle. They non-tendered Dylan Carlson, Colin Poche, Tyler Alexander. They exercised a $10.5 million club option on Brandon Lau. They took Nate Lavender in the Rule 5. They purchased Mike Vassell, the pitcher from the Mets organization, from Philly after Philly took him in the Rule 5 draft. And then they traded Jose Siri to the Mets for Eric Orzi, a reliever. They traded Jeffrey Springs and Jacob Lopez, a reliever, to the Athletics for Joe Boyle, a starter, Jacob Waters, another pitcher, Will Simpson, a first baseman, and a Comp A pick. They agreed to minor league deals with Eloy Jimenez, GOAT, Coco Montes, Joey Gerber, and Michael Flynn, and they signed Danny Jansen to a 1-year, $8 million deal with a mutual option at $12 million in 2026. They've been pretty active, and the Rays are raying all over the place. Like, I think we know exactly what they're doing here, where they effectively trimmed some payroll while giving more young guys some runway. I think there is still an opportunity to give more guys even more runway. You want to start lineup or staff? I don't think we touch this pitching staff at all, to be honest with you.
And to be completely honest with you, I don't know if we touch this offense. I'm excited to hear what you got for them, but when I was
Yeah.
looking at this team, I think they're weirdly in a similar bucket to the Braves. Remember your long-standing belief in, Riley and Murphy and Olson and Albies and Acuna all having bounce back seasons. And you made a little face when I said Braves adjacent. You're like, what are you talking
Yeah, I
about?
did.
But here's what I mean by that. I think a lot of more production from this offense is coming from guys who I think can have a better season. Like Yanni Diaz at 120 WRC plus is fine, but we're used to him being in the 150 range. Can he put together a better season? Can we get a full season from Junior Caminero,
Yeah.
arguably baseball's best offensive prospect, who was middling around in the minor leagues just because the Rays wanted to, manipulate his service time?
Yeah, I have no idea what that was because they had an opportunity to cash in on a PPI pick and then they exhausted the service clock for the extra year. It was just weird.
Exactly. So, and now, luckily, they can't do that. They're going to give him a full season here.
I have to.
Josh Lowe, I'm looking at you, man. You know how I was all up on Vinny Pasquantino with the Royals, being like, this needs to be a big time year for you? Josh Lowe is not quite that, but he is 27.
Yeah.
So I would love to see his coming out year this season because Josh Lowe is a really talented outfielder for the Rays, a kind of guy who could steal 20 bases, hit 20 home runs. Thing is, he struck out 32% of the time last year, but he's much better than a 98 WRC plus hitter. I look at
Yep.
Danny Jansen, right? They added their catcher. I look at Christopher Morel, right? Put up a negative one WAR, was objectively terrible. Goes over to the Rays over the deadline, and I'm holding out hope because, oh, the Rays got Morel. They must see something. He was bad with the Rays.
Yeah.
But do you move off him now? Because he's a good enough player that you can dream on. We need him to be better. Jonathan Aranda, one of their top prospects, now slotting into the DH role. Don't you want to give him run? Johnny DeLuca, you traded for him in the Ryan Pepio deal from the Dodgers. Aren't you going to give him run in center?
Yeah.
Taylor Walls, I could understand moving off at shortstop, but of course they still have Jose Caballero and, Richie Palacios maybe could go over there to pitch. They have kind of their shortstop option, whether it be Walls or Caballero. So I look at this team and I'm expecting bounce backs from some of them, from Yandy to be better, and a full season from Junior Caminero. What moves are we really making here? I know it's not quite the Braves, but it's
Yeah.
the same sentiment of I need bounce backs from some guys and I need other guys to stay healthy. And they have a lot of the answers in house.
Okay. So counter to all of that is while I'm with you and while I do like all of these pieces in a vacuum, like is a relative term, and this
I agree.
offense was the second worst in Major League Baseball. And this offense on paper does look really bad when you compare it to the rest of the league. Like
It does.
Christopher
Yeah.
Morel a guy that you look at and say, yeah, you know what? He's hitting in the middle of the order on 20 other teams.
No, but
Hell,
can he hit 20 home runs in your seven hole?
probably.
That's probably what he is on this team. He was
Think
hitting in the
so?
middle of the order when we were
Okay,
looking at
you know
just a
what?
horrible Rays
You know
lineup
what?
down the stretch.
Power rank their best hitters.
Okay. Yandy 1,
Yeah.
Junior 2. I don't care.
Okay. Thumbs up.
Brandon Lau 3,
Okay.
Josh Lowe 4,
Okay.
who I all
Uh,
think are good hitters.
Okay. Who's
I all
five?
I'm gonna go with Aranda.
Okay. On how many teams in Major League Baseball is Jonathan Aranda the fifth best hitter in the lineup?
Oh, 10.
Less, fewer,
Less. No.
whichever one
There
is
are
right.
some bad lineups in Major League Baseball these
I
days.
know, but let's call it five. Like,
8.
I think they are a bottom seven lineup in Major League Baseball. Is
I
that an
agree.
arbitrary enough number?
I think that's fair. I don't think anyone's coming after you for that. I just they have enough options for me to dream on. Christopher Morel, just seeing that he's 25 still.
I know. I know.
You know?
They have my favorite farm system in Major League Baseball. I think the Brewers are probably the best farm system in Major League Baseball, but I would consider Tampa the second best farm system in Major League Baseball. And they have a lot of guys that I think are going to get ABs by the end of September in 2025. And I'm talking about their shortstop of the future in Carson Williams. I'm talking about, I think, the craziest nine hitter you've ever seen, or a solid enough leadoff hitter in Chandler Simpson, if it all goes according to plan. That guy can actually swipe 80 bags in the major leagues. He swiped 100 last year in the minor leagues. Xavier Isaac is going to be ready by the end of the 2025 season. Trey Morgan probably factors into a corner outfield spot by the end of the season. And Braden Taylor could factor in some form or fashion. One guy we have not mentioned is somebody that has nothing else left to prove in the minor leagues, and that's Curtis Mead. So
Hmm.
do you trade him or do you clear up money and give him space to operate? I look at this team and I look at what the Rays like to do, and they like to put out a young and controllable lineup and give really good prospects a chance to shine
Hmm.
at the lowest price point as humanly possible. They picked up Brandon Lau's $10.5 million club option. I think they picked that up to trade him and recoup. So I think they're going to move Lau, and that opens a spot for Mead to play second base,
One
and
quick
Cabby
thing.
can fill in.
Do
Yeah,
you think Lau is traded this offseason or at the deadline?
I think this offseason, and I think if this season is going poorly, they trade Yandy at the deadline.
Mm,
I was talking with Arm a little bit earlier today, and I was like, do they trade Lau and Yandy? Because that gets their payroll down to $54 million. And something that we're
not
like,
even a payroll.
I know you're scoffing at it, but you got to remember they're playing in a ballpark that isn't even their minor league ball or isn't even their spring training ballpark. They're playing at the
And
Yankee spring training ballpark.
and
So
they've
wouldn't you
walked
want to keep that payroll number as low as possible?
1,000%. And they walked back, moving on from the Trop. It was reported by the Tampa Bay Times that they are going to rejuvenate that stadium, rebuild it.
Yeah.
And that plans to be their home 2026 opening day. And the sentiment from Rays fans was very negative that they do not like that park and they want it to be actually in Tampa Bay, which I totally, totally get.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about cutting payroll and the fact that they want to renovate that stadium again and build it back up, that's what they're going to do, whether
Yeah.
anybody likes it or not. So that's how they operate. And we have to try and operate within their own parameters because, again, this is not MLB the show.
Yeah, and their spending habits, what they typically do. So I'll get this out of the way. I don't think a single move needs to be made to this pitching staff. McClanahan, Bradley, Pepio, Littell, Boz, and Rasmussen as the six, and then Joe Boyle, Ian Seymour, Joe Rock as your backup plan in AAA. Love it. Bullpen. Fairbanks is your closer. Yeah. Uceta, Biggie, gross. Manny
Yep.
Rodriguez looked good last year. Mason Montgomery as a swingman looked good last year. Garrett Clevenger, I like Kevin Kelly still. It's funky. And
Hmm.
Eric Orzi, who you just got in that Jose Siri deal. Bada bing, bada boom. Staff done.
Yep.
I, as weird as it sounds, I am receptive to a Jonathan Aranda, Eloy Jimenez platoon DH situation.
Don't hate it. Is it going to work? Probably not. Do I sitting here Tuesday, January 7th, praying for baseball to come faster? I can get behind that.
I
That's
can
where
get
we're at
behind
in
it
the
too.
offseason, where I'm just dreaming on anything.
Yep. So I want to clear up Lau's money for Mead to play second base and have Caballero fill in there.
Okay.
Lau could be a good fit, I think, in Pittsburgh, who's looking to add a mid level contract.
The Pirates should hire you for how optimistic you are about them adding bats.
But, like, they just signed or they traded for Spencer Horwitz, and
Yeah.
Horwitz can play first or second base. I think Horwitz is going to play first base, and it can be Horwitz and Billy Cook at first.
But they just traded for Nick York and they have Nick Gonzalez.
I think Nick York is best utilized as a super utility option. He looked serviceable at third. He looked okay at short. He looked pretty decent in the corner outfields. I think York is best used all around. And I think you can move for Lau, who can DH when McCutcheon needs a day off, but can play second base at $10.5 million. And I think Tampa would jump on the opportunity to get their hands on Braxton Ashcraft, who has struggled to stay healthy, but is 97, 98 with excellent carry at the top of the zone and a hard, nasty curveball. I think they could turn him into a very good reliever, or they could hold his hand in Durham and get him ready to throw in shorter spurts out of their rotation whenever he's ready.
I just, I get where you're coming from. I just don't see it.
I understand.
I don't see a team like the Pirates when they have multiple young options to trade for a guy at 10.5 million and give up a prospect to do it. I just don't think they're in that boat yet. I understand your thought process and why
Yeah.
potentially they could. I just don't think they do.
Okay.
But again, we bring up trade proposals that I brought them up where it's like it doesn't make sense for that team to do.
Yeah.
But I get where you're coming from and you're trying to cook here. And I can always appreciate a cooker.
So the only other situation where I think it makes some sense to go try and get a second baseman, if the Yankees are still entertaining the second base thing, like they could be in the market for
Oh,
Lau.
absolutely. It's a perfect fit. Rays ain't trading Brandon
No
Lau in
chance.
the division. No shot.
So
To the Yankees, they hate the Yankees. They're not trying to help them in any way,
they're
shape, or
using their
form.
spring training facility.
Yeah, and
Um,
if the Yankees want him, they're going to have to overpay for him.
yeah,
Do you
and the
want to
Yankee system
overpay
is
for him?
terrible. Yeah,
No. Yeah, so no. They're going to ask for like Spencer Jones. And
yeah,
Yankee fans are going to scoff at it when in reality, like
might be worth
that's probably what it's worth, but
might be worth entertaining.
we only have like 3 prospects. So it's like it can't be in that deal. One team that I did ID, again, it's a tough. You might give me the same answer that I gave you. Would the Giants do it? Because we're talking about the Giants adding potential, more bats here. Right now, of course, they signed Willie Adames.
Yeah,
They've been in the market for Ha-Seong Kim, but they have Tyler Fitzgerald. But what is Tyler Fitzgerald to them? Right? He had a fever dream type. It was either the second half or the first half. I forget off the top of my head. And then didn't have a great other half. Is that the guy who you want as your starting second baseman next year? And he's 27 years old? You have the system in order to make a Brandon Lau trade. Why not do it? Maybe Fitzgerald is a piece that heads back to Tampa. I don't know if they'd want him, but that is something where I thought him in that lineup, right? We're talking about adding more power. We need guys who can hit 30 home runs in a season.
yeah.
He's one of them. He can do it. Will he? I don't know, but he can.
It's funny. So Tyler Fitzgerald, pre-All-Star, post-All-Star. Pre-All-Star had a 767 OPS, post-All-Star an 852, but it was a month-by-month thing.
Yeah.
In April, he was a dog for 14 games, 345 with a 988 OPS. And then July, a 1239 OPS. He had 8 homers in 16 games. Then August, 27 games at a 793, and then 22 games in September at a 677 OPS. So it was a slow taper off from that out of body experience that he had in those 16 games in July. It is a good question. Do they want Fitzgerald to be a second baseman or do they want him to be a utility piece? If they want him to be a utility piece, I thought Lau made some sense. If they want him to be a second baseman, I actually had a Yandy Diaz trade mock to San Francisco
Hmm.
because San Francisco is apparently the other team entertaining a Pete Alonso thing. And Yandy is like, well, we have Pete Alonso at home. Is he
Yeah.
not?
Yandy is one of
Although,
those first basemen that I was talking about who has been putting up good numbers at first base.
and you mentioned, man, like, 120 WRC plus this past year, but he was what, 160, then 150, or
Yeah.
140, then 160, something like
A
that?
little bit of a down year last year and still
Yeah.
good, right?
And
That
he
was a
doesn't
down year
strike
for him.
out. He hits the
No.
ball hard. It's just on the ground a decent bit. So I had Yandy Diaz with 1 year of control left, pretty much, and $10 million. Yandy to San Francisco for Luis Matos, where they add some outfield depth, and it feels like Matos is kind of phased out of the Giants' plans right now, but still has plenty of prospect intrigue. And Randy Rodriguez, who is not at the top of San Francisco's bullpen options, but throws 98 and has a disgusting slider, and I know the Rays would salivate at that. So I had Yandy for Luis Matos and Randy Rodriguez, and then I had Brandon Lowe to Pittsburgh for Ashcraft and Sung Chae Chang.
Okay. I first and maybe it's me loving Lamont Wade too much.
Yeah.
And maybe it's me not wanting to move off him at all. So
But like
I
Wade
don't know
again,
why.
Wade can DH and Yandy can play first base.
Yeah.
Or Yandy can DH and Wade can play first base and Wilmer Flores can go to the gulag.
Yeah, their DH is just Wilmer Flores right now. So I get that. Um I mean, why not both? Trade for Yandy and Lau in the same deal. Make a real blockbuster. Get that whole right side of the infield over to San Francisco.
No way. No chance.
We're trying to cook here. It's Tuesday, January 7th.
We are trying to cook. But no, I can't do that. Um,
Do you
I
think the better fit
do.
is Yandy over Lau?
Now,
I'd
let's do Lau because R made a good point. Like it feels like if they did trade both, I mean, there is no reliable piece of this offense. Like
no.
even Junior Caminero, as much as we love him, he's got 80 plate appearances under his belt,
He's
100,
like
120.
14 years old. He's gonna be
I
the.
mean, like that's your best hitter, Junior Caminero. Like that's your most accomplished hitter in his big league career,
The thing is,
Christopher Morel.
we're gonna be talking on Tuesday, January 7th, 2026, and being like, yeah, Junior Caminero was their best hitter, even with Yandy and Lau there. He's that
Superstar.
good.
I do think they trade one of them, and I think Lau is more likely. So let's do Lau to San Francisco.
Cool. And then maybe Fitzgerald is on his way back, or maybe Fitzgerald's just their utility guy because I'm looking at, the Giants bench right now. It's Grant McCray, Encarnacion, Brett Wisely, and Tom Murphy. Tyler Fitzgerald then on that bench elongates it a lot.
I bet you could do an identical return. I bet it could be Brandon Lau for Luis Matos and Randy Rodriguez.
That's a lot for Lau.
Is it?
Yeah, because if you're saying that deal for Yandy, I'd rather have for sure. So it might just be Matos for Lau straight up.
Would it?
I think so. I think that's around fair. Maybe another maybe some pitcher
Lower
in
level
A
prospect.
ball that the Rays are like, I like your slider. All the nerds in Tampa just
Yeah.
push their glasses closer and be like, I want him.
No,
And
it's
then he
Ty
ends up
Thompson
being
type
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, he ends
I
up
think
being great.
I think Bo Davidson is tooled out of his mind.
Sure.
Lower level guy.
Good baseball name too. Bo.
22 year old that
Oh, too old.
50 put 53 games in low A at a 1046 OPS.
Find me a 12-year-old at the complex who just flashed a 100 EV.
Let's do all right. Let's do Yandy Diaz for Luis Matos and Bo Davidson.
Cool.
That work?
Bo Davidson, welcome to the Just Baseball Show.
Easy. You put on a very cool BP that I watched at Sloan Park in Mesa during the fall league.
Now we're sending
Congrats,
you
Bo
out of
Davidson.
town.
I think that's it, to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
think they
I
retain Yandy. They could move him at the deadline if they stink.
like this is the show where we say this is going to go so quick, and then we'll spend 25 minutes on the Rays just talking about one deal. But that's the Just Baseball Show. Hopefully, everybody likes it. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
It's a thought process.
I will say by the end of the year, I think we're looking at the Rays as a different team. And if they do move Yandy, it's because Xavier Isaac seems ready and he's killing in Durham. So
But
you could be
hold on,
looking at,
don't you see this Rays team for a second, just like their current roster with all these young hitters, like this rotation? Like if they do stay healthy, they might win this division.
oh, sure. Yeah, with that
It's-
rotation, of course.
and the bullpen looks really good. And if some of these hitters are good, bounce back. Like if Josh Lowe is great, if Junior Caminero is great, if Yandy stays, and Aranda is good, and Morale is okay, they got a top 15 lineup in baseball with the top five rotation and the top five bullpen with
So
Kevin Cash.
the new look Rays we're looking at right now, and I want to do like a okay opening day. It looks one way, but I want to do a September 25th lineup for you. I think it's
That's
Danny Jan.
impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try.
Yeah, okay.
Danny Jansen and Dominic Keegan, who's one of their top 10 prospects. That's the catching tandem.
Vandy
I
boy.
think I think Xavier Isaac is going to be at first base, and I think Yandy Diaz is gone for some prospect capital.
Cool.
I think you're looking at Meade and Caballero at second base. I think you're looking at Carson Williams and Taylor Wall at shortstop. Taylor Walls. Caminero at third base. Morel in left or Trey Morgan in left with Morel DHing maybe. Then you've got Johnny DeLuca and Chandler Simpson in center. And then you've got Josh Lowe in right. And I think that's a hell of a young lineup.
It's fun. It's a good team.
Really fun.
Yeah, it's a good team. You know, with all the other teams spending buku bucks, the Rays are just operating in the shadows.
Exactly. But that's what they do, man. That's the Eric Neander special. All right, we're going to
Absolutely.
get to the Texas Rangers to tie a bow on this thing. But before that, one more quick break. My apologies for my hiccup there, but let's talk about the Texas Rangers. Peter, give me the whole lowdown.
Absolutely. So the Rangers have already had a fantastic offseason. So there's not a lot of work here to do, but we can marvel over the moves that they have already done. And it's not just the moves in a vacuum, it's what they've been able to do to their overall payroll to even shed some while doing this. Signed Jock Peterson to a 2 year deal, signed Kyle Higashioka to a 2 year deal, added a bunch of relievers on 1 year deals. Chris Martin, who they just signed, I think yesterday, right? We're recording this again on Tuesday, January 7th. They signed him on the 6th to a 1 year deal, the 39-year-old, and asked if he would be able to close games. He basically said, wherever Bruce Bochy needs me. Wherever he needs me, I can do whatever he needs. Sean Armstrong, they also signed Hobie Milner and Jacob Webb. So they brought in four different relievers on 1 year deals. They also traded Nathaniel Lowe for a relief pitcher, Robert Garcia. And
Yeah.
for a lot of people that had never heard of Robert Garcia, they quickly went to Baseball Savant, saw a bunch of red, and everyone was like,
Bubbles.
fleece, fleece. They just found a crazy reliever. He is like 30, and we will see, but it definitely looks like a good addition over here to Texas, who definitely needs bullpen help. They also acquired Jake Berger from the Miami Marlins for prospects infielder Max Acosta, infielder Echedri Vargas,
Yep.
and starting pitcher Brian Mendoza. Normally, I'm used to Jack coming in and saying the pronunciation is actually this, but he's silent, which means
No,
I
it's
nailed it.
uh, soften the CH in a Shedry. It's a Shedry Vargas,
Echedri.
not a Chedry.
Damn it. Folks, Peter believers, we almost got him.
Yeah.
We almost got him.
Do you have a lot of those, Peter believers?
There's got to be a few out there, hopefully.
I'm not one of them.
Yeah, well, whatever. I am. Traded Owen White to the Reds for cash. A former top pitching prospect has not exactly found it. The Reds needed some young, controllable starting pitching depth. The Rangers said, sure, just give us a bunch of money. And they did. Also,
Yeah.
right-handed pitcher Grant Anderson, reliever, to the Brewers for starting pitching prospect Mason Molina, 21 years old. Last year's payroll was a lot. They had to pay the CBT threshold. This year, their projected payroll is 224 million. So they're projected 17 million under the new threshold, which is 241 million. And now you and I were texting all morning because I am not a payroll guy. And you are kind of a payroll guy.
Sort of.
So explain it to the best of your abilities as kind of a payroll guy.
So, as kind of a payroll guy and also kind of an idiot, here's my understanding. The tax number is always going to be higher than the payroll number because it accounts for weird discrepancies in guys' yearly money. Like Adolis Garcia, for some reason, what is he making? Like 4.5, but his number is going to be 7 on the tax payroll. I don't know why the tax payroll is always going to be higher, but the payroll in which Major League Baseball works off of to establish the CBT and like where it, kind of cuts off the threshold is always going to be higher than the classic on-field payroll that you see. And I think it also accounts for retained money, dead money, injured list money, things like that. That wouldn't be accounted for in the typical on field payroll or the total payroll number you may typically see. The way to go see that number against what they may be taxed on, like you want to talk first apron, second apron, all that BS. I have no idea, but that CBT threshold you have for 2025 being $241 million.
241 this year, up
If
from 236 last year.
if you go to my goated website, spotrac.com, SPOTRAC, and you go to the Rangers team page for 2025, you scroll all the way down. Not all the way down to the point where it's like, here's the contact number. You click on Texas Rangers. You see current payroll allocations $175.7 million, projected total allocations 192.49. Do you see that?
Yes.
So you scroll past the active roster, you see they're paying DeGrom $40 million. You see an estimate for Heim at 5.2, yada, yada, yada. You scroll to 2025 retained. 2025 payroll totals is right under that. Projected total payroll is 192, $490,000. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Scroll even farther. Competitive balance tax space. You see that in dark gray?
Yes.
Then you get even farther and you get to projected arbitration AAV payroll, projected pre-arb AAV payroll, projected tax payroll. 224,056,666.
Hmm.
So projected competitive balance tax space is $16.9 million. I'm sorry to bore the living crap out of the audio people, but hopefully on YouTube you could follow along if you were playing along, and maybe even you were playing along while you were listening to it. So
Yes.
that is the way you know if your favorite team has space to work with under the competitive balance tax.
And hopefully we could just do that once. We got all the it's kind of like you got to eat your vegetables before we get to the main attraction, which is
Yeah.
then fixing the Texas Rangers. But we understand how they were able to also get under this tax threshold by moving
Yes.
off of some pieces, right? The Nathaniel Lowe trade ends up being a huge win for them, right? Moving off that money, adding bullpen help, which they really do need, and also moving off some contracts, right? If we're looking at their outstanding free agents, Kirby Yates, Max Scherzer, Andrew Heaney, Jose Urena, Travis Jankowski, Matt Duffy, and David Robertson declined his mutual option.
How about Jose Leclerc?
Jose Leclerc as well. Did I not even say him? He's written
I
on
know.
my outstanding free agents. So they have a lot of guys coming off the books, and they made a lot of good moves, right? When we're looking at the Texas Rangers offense right now, there's no holes. Zero. This offense looks great. Semien at second, Seager at short, Langford in left, Peterson at DH, Adolis Garcia in right, Josh Young at third, Evan Carter in center, Jake Berger at first, Jonah Heim at catcher, with Kyle Higashioka backing him up, with Duran, Smith, and Tavares on your bench. No notes. None. None. Look at that offense. There's so much boom in there. There's a lot more boom than there is bust. But then we go to the rotation, and it does look like there's a lot more bust than boom, but there is some boom. Go ahead.
Are there 5 big booms?
There's not
Or the
five big booms here. There's like two and a half big booms.
boom, boom, boom.
Boom.
Okay.
Nathan Eovaldi is a boom. We got a boom here. Double chunk chocolate.
Yeah.
Jacob DeGrom.
I think he's a big boom.
We hope.
Boom.
Oh, we hope. John Gray. Boom.
He's not a doom, but he's not a boom.
We're skipping over him. Tyler Malley.
Again, not a doom, but not a boom.
Cody Bradford.
Yeah, you love him.
Boom!
You love
How could
Cody
you
Bradley.
not? How could you not?
What I will say is there are two guys that we should be factoring into this conversation, and it's Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter.
Yes.
They're
But I don't
seven
know how
deep.
we can factor them in like right now, especially lighter. Kumar,
Kumar
if you
should
think I'm going to
be
doubt
in that
Kumar for a
rotation.
second, you're crazy.
Yeah. I love that we bought in as soon as we saw his first rehab in 24.
No, I bought in. I never left from
I
him
know
at
you
Vandy.
never left, but we had an individual text. I'll find it. It was right after his rehab. And you said, I don't need a reason to hop back on the Kumar train. I'm just there with you. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, let's
Just
go.
any positive. I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
we're here.
I I think Kumar should be in this rotation on opening day. I don't know how you do it. Maybe Bradford's a long man.
No, Gray's a long man. Bradford is in this rotation.
Okay.
Do you don't think so? Like I think he has earned it. I mean, he was great last year. 76 innings. He's 27 years old. Lefty 3.54. He
Yeah,
was
I'm just
another
thinking he could be a long.
reincarnation
I'm
of
just
Jordan
thinking he could be a
Montgomery.
long reliever.
I think he's better than that. I think he deserves a spot in this rotation. And also, he's the only lefty, too. You going all righties?
You could. I don't.
I would bounce Gray. And you hope Malley's going to pitch all year. You might go six-man rotation just to try and save these arms,
You
right? What the
absolutely
Dodgers are
could.
doing.
That would preserve Degrom.
Yeah.
And that would help Eovaldi too, who's got
And
2 2.
Malley.
Yeah, I that could be the way to do it.
And then you still have Dane Dunning, who's just, going to vulture
Yeah,
some innings. You know, in August, he's going to have 7 starts somehow.
yeah. I have no notes on the starting rotation. I think the starting rotation has plenty of options, and I love Emiliano Teodo. Teodo could transition into a high leverage relief role tomorrow and be a setup guy that Bruce Bochy should be entirely confident in turning to in big moments.
And then you look at the bullpen. Chris Martin, Robert Garcia, Jacob Webb, Sean Armstrong, Hobie Milner. These are all new guys. And then after
There's
that, Daniel Robert, Jacob Latz, and Dane Dunning. Now, Daniel Robert and Jacob Latz, their days are likely numbered here.
yeah.
I mean, Latz was pretty good last year, and you probably want to keep him as a lefty, but you did add Milner and you did add Robert Garcia, so I think we can add one more arm here. And I think the perfect arm is still a free agent.
Really?
Bring back Kirby Yates. Like just bring him back. He was objectively great for you. Do not try and reinvent the wheel here. Just bring him back. And my last move, wouldn't mind bringing back Travis Jankowski either. Just
For
bring
what?
back,
On a minor league deal?
yeah, something like that. I like Jankowski. I like his role here. Now you
I
look
like
at
his
the
hair.
you look at the you look at the team right now and you're like, well, where could we realistically stash him on our bench? Maybe you don't.
You
But I,
can't.
I'm a believer in bringing back some of the Rangers that have been there for a little bit of a while and try and rerun this thing.
So, can I tell you, I view Josh Smith as a better version of Ezekiel Duran.
Definitely. I would
I
try and
think
trade Duran or
I
Tavares.
so I think we can trade Duran, and I did
Okay.
this on the Cardinals episode.
Perfect.
They would take on $8 million, about 7 when you factor in Duran. But I think Duran and a mid-level prospect could get you Ryan Helsley, and that gives you a closer.
I mean, Rangers fans are drooling over that.
Why couldn't Duran and Dylan Dreiling, Duran has 4 years of control, 5 years of control, get you Ryan Helsley with 1 year and $8 million remaining?
Yeah. And
And
Duran's
St. Louis could use
25.
a Duran.
Duran's 25. And, right, if we're looking at Ezekiel Duran's career so far, in 2023, right, when the Rangers were on this run, he was a good player. 110 WRC plus. He just didn't get a ton of run. 14 bombs, 8 steals, right? At 24 years old and 25, everybody on the Rangers had a down year. So you are
Yeah.
buying low a little bit, and you get a prospect for a reliever. I mean, if I'm the Rangers, I'm doing that tomorrow. If I'm the Cardinals, do we have to give them a little bit of a better prospect here? Because how are
Maybe.
they going to prove to their fans we just trade Ryan Helsley for a utility guy and like not a top prospect. They won't be able to like Moselek's not coming. He's not getting invited to any St. Louis restaurant after a deal like that,
I know. But you're
whether
trying to
it's fair or
recoup.
not.
You're trying to recoup, and they're trying to shed some money, I think. So,
No, in a vacuum, it's not that bad of a deal. But
I don't.
I mean, Devin
Yeah, I just.
Williams netted Nestor and Caleb Durbin.
Yeah, but Durbin is a better prospect than Dreiling is, and I
Exactly.
mean Nestor has more value. And does 1 year of Nestor have more value than 4 years of Duran?
It depends what your thoughts are on Duran. If we call that a wash, we definitely need a better prospect than Dreiler. You still with us?
Yeah, I am. I'm here.
You're just thinking he's
I'm
in
just trying to
deep of thought.
think.
You got to remember for the audio folks, they just listen to just shh.
I know, I know. I'm just deep in thought. Like I don't know if I would range much higher. I think it could be Dreiling and another prospect. Like does St. Louis want Abimelec Ortiz too? Although that kind of feels like a lot. Like could they use? Like I don't know, man. This system kind of falls off quick. Could they use a Skylar Hales as well, who throws really hard but struggled in the fall league? He was a good reliever in high A and double this year.
Is Foscue too much?
See, if we trade Duran, I would want Foscue on that big league bench.
You're totally right. I think it's Winston Santos a good prospect?
Yeah, Aram loves him.
What about
Aram loves him, like wanted to like top 100 him for a minute, but the
mm.
numbers are not good in his career.
Okay, what about Santos and Duran for Helsley?
Santos
Because
and
that's a
Duran.
guy that Mosaic can come and be like, we think this is a really good prospect here that we got. And the Rangers can say, good luck. And that we get Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
I think I think that probably sits better with Cardinals fans where they get a guy that, while the numbers have not been great, the pitch data is
And who knows?
unbelievable.
Yeah, and you could, in next year's edition, like, oh wow, he's 94, right? And we got him in the Helsley deal, and
Yeah.
we got Duran, who's still like a decent player for us.
Let's do it. Let's do
Yeah,
it. Duran and Winston Santos for Ryan Helsley.
sweet.
And they take on about $7 million, which they can afford, I think. I didn't read anything that indicated otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't have to pay the tax because they have 17 million to work with, and then we could still add Kirby Yates too.
Yeah, but do we want to push that hard
No, we
against
don't.
it?
I would almost bring back David Robertson instead, even though he declined his mutual option.
I think so.
But he's gonna want like 12.
Yeah,
He's
but
gonna
maybe
get it from
Neris.
somebody.
Like, could Neris be a 1 for 3 guy
Do you even want Neris in your bullpen?
as a seventh inning guy? I would take it,
Do
and that's all
you?
we're asking him to be. I think.
No, we're asking him to probably be less.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I don't know if I want Neris.
How
I'd
about
want
Dylan Floro? How about
Yeah, I'd rather Floro for sure. Keep the ball
yeah?
on the
I
ground.
I think Floro is 3.5.
Let's get Floro. Let's get
Okay.
Floro and trade for Helsley, and we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, and I want to do more. I really do. But they
Where
did it
else?
all for us.
Yeah.
And again, we're looking at a team here, right? We didn't even go over the team stats. This team was bad.
Yeah.
23rd in OPS, 18th in home runs, 20th in stolen bases. This is a bottom 10 offense.
Yep.
Starting rotation, 21st in ERA, 16th in whip, 20th in strikeouts per nine. This is a bottom 12 staff. Bullpen, 26th in ERA, 26th in whip, 10th in K per nine. This is a bottom 10 bullpen. Like the Rangers, I'm salivating over the look of this team, but I'm nervous that they may end up being a little bit overrated if some of the booms don't end up happening. There's just a lot of upside and intrigue to this team, and there's still some
I,
downside here.
I think they did a good job hedging it. Like I
Definitely.
think I think Berger and Jock in that lineup is a real help, and I think Heim and Higgy is a hell of a lot better than just Heim. And like okay, DeGrom, say he gets hurt again. Like DeGrom's coming off Tommy John surgery. You hope that he reclaims it, but at his very worst, he's an all-star caliber starting pitcher. I think that's fair to say about DeGrom when he's
Oh, I
on the
think at
field.
his worst,
He's an all-star.
he's a easy one of the best pitchers in baseball. The thing is, that's on the field. Like, what's to say he doesn't throw 50 innings this year?
I know, I know. But recovery from Tommy John surgery is what's to say there.
Yeah,
So like DeGrom, you're hoping that he can just stay healthy for you, stay on the field because you know you're getting an
36,
ace. Yeah.
36.
Eovaldi has been reliable.
Yep.
Kumar, I'm like very confident in this
Mhm.
year. And then you just need one of or two of Malley, Gray, Bradford, Leiter, Teodo, Dunning to work out in that rotation.
But then you could also go doom where it's like Eovaldi takes a step back. DeGrom never gets off the ground. Neither does Malley. Gray's not very good, and Bradford's your best pitcher. Like, there's some
There's
doom
no
here.
world where Cody Bradford is bad in your eyes.
No, there is no world. So I undo the sheet. So what I'm doing is now undoing the shield. So I was thinking about sprinting to my BetMGM sportsbook account and betting the Rangers to win the division. I caught myself and I said, do one more look at the Astros roster.
Yeah.
And I did, and I came away thinking to myself, the Astros are going to win this division.
Got you.
That's my feeling as of now. We trade for
Yeah.
Helsley, maybe we could have some different conversations. I'm so intrigued by the offense and the possibilities of the rotation.
Yeah.
But the if we simulate the Rangers 2025 1,000 times, I bet it goes wrong more often than it goes right.
Yeah.
That's my push and pull here with the Rangers. I want to buy in. I'm like a dog at the fence,
Yeah.
and you're showing me a steak. But the thing is, you undo the fence, I come running at it. There's all these pills in it that I got to take because I'm a dog. And it's like I'm eating and I'm like, damn it, I know there's a bunch of pills in here and I don't even enjoy the steak.
Yeah, but the steak is gas.
Yeah, and it's got peanut butter on it because I'm a dog.
Oh.
Yeah, you know? But it's like, there's all these pills in it and it's like a vegan steak and it's not that
Whatever.
good, but it looks great. It's like, those videos too, again, for people who are chronically online when they're, cutting through something and it looks like a steak and it's like, well, this is a different kind of mushroom. And you're
I
like,
thought it was
what?
cake. I thought the whole question was, is it cake?
No, you're not on the steak talk with me
No.
where they're and it's like this lion's mane mushroom, which you can make it look like a steak.
Got it.
And it looks like one. And the Texas Rangers look like a steak. It might be fucking vegan.
But are they a mushroom? Yeah,
They a mushroom.
that's a good point.
So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. A lot of different analogies. Hopefully one stuck. And if it did, rate and reviewing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts is the best way to support this show. Make sure to go check out our new line of Just Baseball merch. World Series logos transition into Just Baseball logos. The perfect combination. Go get yours in the episode description. Also, make sure to go use code Just Baseball and BetMGM. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We got so many things. But we'll see you on Friday. And with Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. Thank you, everybody.